In 211 AC, 2 years after the spring sickness ravaged Westeros, King Aerys I Targaryen sought to improve relations with Essos. He forbid the Ironborn from raiding the free city of Lys, Pentos, Myr, and Braavos, while also introducing sweeping tax reforms that heavily burdened the nobility. This newly introduced tax was to build the Royal Navy into the greatest the world has seen. Most complied, but the Ironborn paid only the iron price. They refused and were given an ultimatum. In Essos, Daemon the Younger managed to defeat Bittersteel in a duel upon their confrontation over the ancestral Valyrian steel sword Blackfire. Bittersteel bent the knee upon his defeat, agreeing to support Daemon's claims despite his previous hesitations. Aegor then crowned him King Daemon II Blackfire. 10 years would pass in relative peace. It was the 7th of the 3rd moon when King Daemon II Blackfire would push his claims on the Iron Throne, with the support of the disgruntled Ironborn. They would make landfall on Cracklaw Isle, where they would be defeated when Lord Paramount Donal Arryn led the Loyalist armies against the Blackfire host. The Blackfire host escaped, while the Ironborn were either executed or sent to the wall. Shortly after this, King Maekar would inherit the throne as King Aerys I, the merciful Targaryen, would pass away. Lord Ambrose Butterwell announced a grand wedding tourney that would draw lords and knights from across the realm. Among the participants was a knight known as John the Fiddler, Duncan the Tall, Sir Gerald Dane, and an unknown mystery knight. The few jousts were unremarkable, but soon Sir Gerald Dane and the mystery knight would come to lance. The mystery knight would get defeated, revealing her identity to be Lady Danelle Lofson. The finale of this tournament would be Sir Duncan the Tall versus the Sword of the Morning. During this battle, Sir Duncan the Tall died. Whether it was divine intervention or pure determination, Sir Duncan the Tall stood back up to continue fighting. After a close match, the Sword of the Morning won the joust. Lord Othos Bracken and Aeron Bolton hosted a grand tournament at Stonehenge to celebrate the wedding of Lyanna Bracken and Donald Bolton. With purses worth tens of thousands of golden dragons in each bracket, the event drew great lords and famed knights from across the realm, and became known as one of the greatest tournaments ever held. The celebrations were marred by tragedy. In the joust, Garland Tyrell, heir to Highgarden, was slain by Lord Tybalt Lannister. Later, Donald Bolton was killed by his brother Rickon Bolton in another tilt. Whether intentional or accidental remains unknown, but to uphold the alliance, Lyanna Bracken was subsequently betrothed to Lord Rickon. In a familiar sight to many spectators, Lord Gerald Dane and Sir Duncan the Tall met once again in the finale of the joust. This time, Lord Gerald emerged victorious once more, claiming the championship. Sir Duncan, however, would not leave empty-handed, as he went to win the Northern Melee bracket and secure his own place among the tourney's champions. King Maekar passed away at the ripe age of 70, and the crown passed to his eldest son, King Daeron III Targaryen, later remembered as the Drunken. Yet tragedy soon struck again. Daeron's first and only son died during childbirth, leaving his simple-minded daughter as the rightful heir. Fearing unrest, he chose instead to name his brother, Prince Aegon, as heir to the Iron Throne. Aegon offered to make Sir Duncan the Tall his hand with the king once he inherited, which he declined and travelled to Essos. In this time in Essos, Sir Duncan would somehow finding himself becoming the first Magister of Lys. Elsewhere, Lord Baron Stark, the former Master-at-Arms, would resign from his position and return back to Winterfell. Shortly after this, it would be revealed that Lord Baron Stark is secretly a cannibal. King Daeron demanded he come to King's Landing for justice. He refused and was branded a criminal to the realm. Lord Baron Stark called the Banners in open rebellion against the crown. All heeded his call except the Boltons, who long coveted their position. King Daeron III responded swiftly, calling his own banners to war, entrusting command of the campaign to Prince Aegon. He marched north to confront the growing rebellion. Thousands of soldiers crossed into Bolton-controlled lands as a brutal war engulfed the north. The king's armies advanced relentlessly, eventually surrounding Winterfell and laying siege to the castle. Meanwhile, in the south, King Daeron ordered the newly appointed Master-at-Arms, Lord Paramount Leo Tyrell, to remain in King's Landing and oversee the city's defenses, ensuring the capital remained secure while the realm descended into war. Across the narrow sea, the blind king Haegon I Blackfyre recognized this conflict as a rare opportunity. Seizing the moment, he launched an invasion of Westeros, appointing his son, Prince Regent Daemon Blackfyre, to lead the expedition in his name while the Seven Kingdoms were distracted by civil war. Shortly after being appointed defender of King's Landing, Leo Tyrell proved unequal to the task. Rather than hold the capital, he resigned his post and retreated to Highgarden, taking his army with him. As a result, when the Blackfyre host and the Golden Company landed at King's Landing, they found the city virtually undefended, protected only by the City Watch. The capital quickly fell, giving the rebels a decisive victory. Emboldened by the success, and with the Loyalist army still campaigning in the north, House Baratheon declared for the rebellion, further strengthening the rebel cause. Seizing the opportunity, Prince Regent Daemon turned his attention to a personal vendetta, and ordered the destruction of Duskendale, razing the town to the ground. Despite their momentum, however, the rebels soon descended into disorder. During a crucial campaign, the Bracken forces abruptly abandoned their positions after scouts reported the approach of a Blackwood army. The Blackfyres moved to support their allies, but in doing so, they became overextended and suffered a crushing defeat. Forced to retreat, the rebel host withdrew to King's Landing, where they prepared to endure a siege. A grueling siege soon began as the Loyalist armies encamped outside the walls of King's Landing. Curiously, the forces of the Reach, who were officially declared neutral in this conflict, also established camps beyond the city. Delegates of the Reach were seen entering both camps to negotiate terms for their support. Yet, whether due to overreaching demands or foolishness on all sides, no agreement was reached. Fearing that the Reach might eventually abandon its position of neutrality and join the rebellion, the king grew desperate to retake the capital before the balance of power shifted. He therefore ordered a full assault on King's Landing. To aid the attack, Loyalist agents infiltrated the Red Keep by boat, spreading confusion and disorder among the defenders. Overwhelmed and unable to hold the city, the Blackfyre host was driven from King's Landing and forced to retreat to Storm's End, where the remnants of the rebellion regrouped. With the rebellion on the verge of collapse, Prince Regent Daemon Blackfyre finally reached an agreement with House Tyrell in exchange for their support. The armies of the Reach abandoned their neutrality and joined the rebel cause. Their forces marched alongside the Blackfyre host towards King's Landing, dramatically shifting the balance of the war. (258 AC). After taking the Iron Throne, Prince Regent Daemon Blackfyre imposed punitive taxes on rebel houses, particularly House Blackwood. When Blackwood men attacked Golden Company tax collectors at Ravenstree Hall despite their strife, the company besieged the castle, seized Lord Blackwood, and forced the house into submission. In 263 AC, Dorne and the Stormlands rebelled, while the Crown crushed the Baratheons. Its vassals subdued Dorne, stripping House Martell of the Lord Paramountcy and granting it to House Ironwood.